Hi, this is Ben, and welcome to Competent Conquest. Today, I'm playing my LVO Spires list against Bryan, testing out his LVO list. And we're going to start off by me successfully getting my one light that I roll for, and choosing to bring in my High Clone Executor in Vanguard Clone Infiltrators. Turn one's pretty easy. He's got Ballistae. He just runs them up the right flank. His plan here is they have Herald of Magma, so they're trying to turn on Erupting, and he's going to just try to get it on that large piece of obscuring terrain, the large wheat field in the middle of the board, to give himself a lot of ability to fire long-range, cross-board spells, because he runs Magma. My VCI, I'm going to run up and just, basically just get up as far up the board as I can, and try to really get some board advantage. I go up 17. I should probably go back on there. So I go up 17.4 so that Strix can jump them. Sands are just under 2.6 inches, so I just want to make sure that the Strix can get right over top of them. Not that it matters a ton, because he's probably going to bring on tall things, but it's good to have the ability to just leapfrog units. They'll be able to walk past the Strix and shoot, and then the Strix could go right afterwards. So turn 2, I select to bring in my... he brings in his Warlord Drake, I believe, or either that or his Initiates. I think his Initiates have flank. I gotta double check the list. But from Raegh taking Tactical Tier 3... I roll what would be a really good roll next turn. And get one of my mediums, and he has 5 mediums. So he brings in one of his as well. So I'm going to bring in Brute Drones with the Pheromancer, so that I can activate Pheromancies. And just one of my other mediums, which I think I'm thinking about this for a little bit. I believe I choose Onslaught Drones, just because they're slow. And I don't really have a good place to be right now, so I want to get them on the board and moving up so that they're in position to play. I also know that they're very good against Initiates, because Initiates have shields. So my plan is to get off Lethargy on his Initiates, and then charge them with Onslaught Drones. And I could get them up to move 8 with the combination of or up to move 7 with Burnout, which 8-inch charge is automatic, so I can be pretty safely in range. And then they hit really well, so that was my plan, and it worked out. And then I rolled hot, which was even more helpful. So turn 2, we're rolling for priority here. I am going to score the zone, which is really nice, to just have that huge scoring advantage right off the bat. It does come at the cost of my VCI not really doing a whole lot this turn. So I lose, or I guess I win the roll to go first, but we both put characters first. There's no reason they're not going to do anything this turn, so just stalling it out. I go with my Strix. They just move up a little bit. They're just giving space for the VCI to get into the zone and still be able to shoot. So I think about this probably way too much. I end up measuring where he can walk on and start casting magma spells at me, but it honestly doesn't really matter, because in order to be in a place where he can't do any of that, I don't really move up the board. I likely should have stayed straight here, which normally I think tilting units is really good. Just to be able to go right behind them with the VCI. And just outside of 25 inches from his board edge, 25.1. So that he would have to double march on to be able to spell me. I mean, I can't really do anything about the spell. It's 30-inch threat, so he can come on, cast Magma Seep, and then blast me. He's going to bring on Initiates straight across from me. That makes sense. As you can see, I'm already planning the maneuvers in the bottom left there. You can see that I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with my free reform, like where I want the high clone. And I'm looking at getting him just to the left side of the Strix so that I could get a shot on these initiates, because they do have to die, and they're probably going to be the only thing I can shoot this turn. I also make sure to set up my brute drones so that they can be more centralized, and the Pheromancer can be closer to things that he would want to cast spells on. I think I look at this and like I'm pretty sure 10 inches just isn't enough here. Yeah, so I measure this out and I'm not able to get within 10 inches of the zone. And I want to be able to push forward if he doesn't commit heavily to this flank. So I'm just like, all right, well, these guys are just going to come straight on. It's a 9-inch zone. They would have 20 inches. That means 4.5 minus 24 is 19.5. So they can walk straight into that zone. They have enough space to do it. It gives me the ability to go into a 2x2 formation on the VCI and go sideways, and I'm going to lose a lot of shots that way, but I'd be able to switch into 2x2, walk up on the hill, and shoot at the initiates, and then still like march into the zone on the following turn, if necessary. But he brings a Hellbringer in on this side, and this is the Warlord. I think he grabs a giant chess piece and puts it on there, which is actually really helpful. But he brings that on, and he marches up just enough to be able to get his Seep plus Pyroclast off on the Strix, and, you know, attempt to blow them up. So I think he's measuring range to all the things. Like, he wants to be in range of the hill to Eruption it in case he fails Seep. There's nothing on the hill, but elemental tokens are elemental tokens, and that's pretty high value. So he's really just trying to figure out where he wants to be. He wants to make sure he's not going to take too many shots from the Vanguard clone infiltrators. Because, frankly, I mean, Hellbringers are defense 3. And they have 14 wounds. And they don't have any healing. So it gets... Chip damage can really kill them. And they're expensive. I mean, they're 330 points for that. Ish. Yes, well, it's 125 plus 180, so they're 305 points for that, assuming no other upgrades. And that's, you know, it adds up. You're looking at a lot, you know, over 20 points per wound. And obviously characters kind of always do that, but it is one of the risks about putting characters on monsters, except Tauntors. Those guys are very tanky. He's just setting up so that he'll be able to march to touch the zone and still be able to shoot on the next turn. A Pheromancer goes, he didn't bring something on and then like shoot my VCI. I don't know how he would have, but that's what I set up. I give them Tenacious and reroll 6s, just in case after I go, he manages to get some sort of, you know, double march Hellbringer Seep, further out, and then try, which puts it in kind of a dangerous spot, but it's not a likely play. He doesn't have the other Hellbringer this turn, so, you know, I thought he did. I thought that was the other medium, or the medium he got, but he chose the Initiates, or he chose the Warlord Hellbringer, and he has Tactical on the Raegh. Or... And I guess maybe he just failed all of his rolls. I don't know what's happened. Actually, I could have sworn that he should have been bringing on a Hellbringer this turn. Ah, well. He might not have Tactical 3 on the Raegh, actually, in this list. So, over here, he's just trying to cast Seep. Target number is 3. Spires doesn't interfere with spells. Their magic's too advanced. And it barely goes off, and then he casts Eruption on the same spot because I was just out of range. I don't know if the value was there for him to like march the Hellbringer up to try to get the Pyroclast off on the Strix, but or he did. This was to get the Pyroclast off on the Strix. Man, I really need to take better notes. So I take 9 here because I take 4, or I take 8. So I take 4, and then I fail all the resolves, which is a lot from 5 hits. But I mean, it's not crazy. Like the resolve 1 and evasion 2. So VCI go. We can barely move up and get a couple shots on initiates. So we're gonna take them. You take any damage you can get, especially into 5 wound stands. So we're doing a lot of measuring out here. I'm going to skip forward a little bit because ultimately it ends up very awkward. So I end up reforming, and then this happens, and it like teleports me because I don't know why. So I end up duplicating the stand back from the initial movement that I did and mess around on Tabletop Simulator a little bit. The goal here is just to get shots with the character. And be where that previously dead Strix stand, or that dead Strix stand is. And I gave +1 March to them when the Pheromancer and Brute Drones came on, or when the Pheromancer activated, so that I was a little bit more able to pull this off. And I think I'm measuring, and that guy's out, so it's literally just the character. And I think I do like 2 wounds here. So I mess around more, and it's just, just Tabletop Simulator things. I end up actually just using that one, going back to where I was a couple seconds ago, and just giving up and being like, okay, I'm going to get shots only with this character. There's nothing else I can do. I'm just going to roll my 8 dice and hope I do any damage to initiates. So I roll 4 hits. I think he rolls like 1-6 here, and that's his only fail. And so he takes 2 damage, which he should take 2 damage, so. Yeah, no, dice roller things. Yeah, so he rolls a 6. He takes 2 damage from deadly, which is deadly works out to be effectively like AP1. And so he takes it, and he takes. So it's fine. That's expected damage. Like we weren't really doing anything exciting there. I think I get all my mediums here, and then 1 heavy. Yeah, so I don't get my heavy in. So I'm pretty sure I'm bringing in everything except for the Centaur Avatara, which is pretty good. It should happen most of the time, but a lot of times one of the regiments comes in on 4. So I'm pretty happy with that. I scored 3 points last turn, and I'm relatively happy with my board position here. His Hold Ballista don't really have anything to go into. We're going to put Avatara on that side. They're pretty resilient to the Aura of Death. They're pretty resilient to the shooting. They're fast. They will beat Hold Ballista in hand-to-hand pretty, handedly. And we're going to hope that, I believe his plan is get the Ballista into the zone so that he can Pyroclast me across the board, but that puts a lot of pressure off of the zone on the left, and I'm just fairly confident like double Avatara can handle that. So my Sentinels pretty much just have to go up the middle. We have to have them be on the plan or up the left zone. They got to be fighting over the major zone because there's a big block of initiates there, and there's going to be another Hellbringer. They tend to support each other, and the Fireforged, I'm not sure where they're going to go. Their placement is going to kind of decide where the Centaur ends up going. Because Centaurs do pretty well into Fireforged. They're very fast. they like can pretty reasonably march charge them from outside of shooting range, giving no shots to at least one of the units of Fireforged. And I have more cards, so I'm able to activate later in the turn, which gives me a pretty significant advantage as well. With the +1 march from Pheromancer, I can actually outrange even their march shots. I can go to 19.1, and then I need a 2 rerollable if I march charge, which is pretty exciting. Like that's pretty good for me, which is why I'm pretty sure he's going to just overload the left side of the board here. It's what you have to do on this scenario. There's just not a whole lot of other options, honestly. So I think we're both building our stacks here. I just my plan here is to just kind of take as much time as I can and get him into me as much as possible. His Hellbringer has probably better targets than Strix now. He really likes killing Strix because they get in the way and they're annoying, but any damage that they take, honestly, is damage something else isn't taking, and I usually feel pretty good about that. But it is better if they, get killed while engaged with things to get lethal demise off. I think we're still building stacks. I'm really not sure. I think about mine a lot. And then I start measuring here. I'm measuring to see if I can get shots on the Hellbringer. Or he is. Because, yeah, I really want to know if I can march to get shots on the Hellbringer. And realistically, my correct play was probably to go first with Strix. And get them, kind of in the way to make him deal with them. And keep his initiates out of the zone for one more turn, unless he, blue shots into them or magic or whatever. Because I don't think I can do much to save them. It ends up being that his initiates, use them for extra movement to march charge into the zone and get up into the board a little bit more, but I'm okay with that. So I lost priority here. He went with a Hellbringer, and I go with VCI. He doesn't know that yet, though, because I thought he was done moving, and I kind of shifted the card early. I'm really relatively happy with these Hellbringer, anywhere his Hellbringer goes here. He puts it over more down the center, which makes sense, but I probably wouldn't. I would probably keep that water terrain. I know that he tries to create space between the Hellbringer and the Initiates for the Ironclad so that he can get the character reroll effect on his Ironclad Drake. So, now he has 3 Hellbringers, which is pretty advantageous, but one of them disappears because of game rules. It was just a measuring stand. So, yeah. So now it'll fit, and I'm good with that. I probably run that Hellbringer up the full 14 on the other flank, and I try to overload the VCI. A big part of that is the VCI can threaten and shoot down the Warlord, and they probably can't threaten and shoot down 2 Drakes. And also, that means I have to really overload on that side, and the Hellbringers are pretty well protected. Whereas this Hellbringer in the center here doesn't have anything in front of it, and it's not going to have anything in front of it. The Initiates are going to move up, but if I get through them, that Hellbringer is, kind of hanging out to dry. Or I'm able to go far enough wide of it to its, or towards the board edge, to deny it some of the things that it wants to do. It's really big if I'm able to get rid of his Warlord to be able, now that side of the board is mine, and if he has double Drake over there, that's just a lot more to chew through. So DCI placement is very tricky. They're a good unit, but there's a lot to them. And I end up just taking aim and shooting at initiates here with just the character again. I don't really have a good play. There's not really much I can do. I don't want to get charged by initiates for a couple of shots on a Hellbringer. Realistically, I made a mistake here. They should not have been anywhere near the top of my stack. I think my plan was actually to turn and face away from him, like just take the shots, not inspire, or not taking aim, turn and face away from him, and like walk backwards, which is what I should have done. And then I decided to get a little greedy with the take aim, and I have regrets, I guess. It's like, it's not a huge mistake. Like, they're in a pretty good position, but they definitely didn't need to take it, right? Like, they could have gone later in the turn, or they could have taken the shots and just wandered backwards to make sure that they're out of March charge range from the initiates, which gives me another turn, and then the Hellbringers have to both like move up and be more aggressive and all of those types of things. And we really want to lure the Hellbringers more towards the center of the board because I'm fast and I can go around initiates. So right now I'm trying to get him to push his battle lines into the zone and then just do everything I can to kill initiates. But if I had set VCI as my final card on the round, then I potentially, if he like March charged the Strix, which he does, I could have potentially moved up Brute Drones, used Lethargy on the initiates, and then just point blank shot them with the VCI, which is a pretty significant amount of damage. So doing my VCI early this turn is not my best choice. I was just afraid of them getting March charged by the initiates, which might have happened. So I don't know. It's close. It's close. Brute Drones walk up. They're in water. They don't love it, but it's fine. I expect to get out of it soon, but realistically, the Brute Drones shouldn't have gone yet. I very likely should have had the Brute Drones do something like go, at the very least, go after the Pheromancer, so I was able to March 14. But they needed to be up there. I needed space behind them for the Incarnate Sentinels if I wanted to send the Incarnate Sentinels down the center, which I think I did at the time, but his Hellbringer placement made me want to place them on the outside. I choose to rally the Strix here. This is one of the problems with Pheromancer in a list without duplicates, is like, what I would like to do is draw Strix, and then activate them and rally, and then use my Pheromancer to heal them, but I didn't really have the ability to do that. So it's probably the biggest concern in this list for me with the Centaur Avatara, is they could be another Brute Drone, which, well, worse, does save me some points so I can pick up some more upgrades, like get AP1 on the High Clone, and maybe a couple other minor things. But also, like, I'll have 2 units of Brute Drones so that I'll be able to activate a Pheromancy on them and then still activate them, like, as my next action, because I could stack them back to back. I do that with Avatara relatively often in this list, but it would be really nice to be able to do it with Brute Drones as well. Also, I have significantly higher potential of having my whole list in on turn 3, which is just helpful for scoring purposes. But yeah, so he comes in, he March charges the Strix, and he would have successfully March charged the VCI. So I guess looking back at it, I probably did actually need to go first. More accurately, I probably just shouldn't have shot last turn. I should have just been behind my Strix and barely touching the zone. so that if he tried to make this play, he is in a situation where I like use Lethargy and then just full activate VCI into him. But we get Onslaughts up here. We do a little bit of measuring. I end up moving them like a million times because I'm trying to make sure that I can wheel past the Strix while still being within 8 inches so that I can actually like charge the Initiates. And then I realize I can actually just march 5 and then march sideways, and that's what I end up doing. Because see, I'm going to hit there, and then I can just march 5 forward and then march straight to the side, and then I can charge the Initiates where they're at next turn. Because it's not like the water hinders my charge, it's only water. So yeah, I measure this, I'm within 8, and I'm 7.9 away, and that's enough to guarantee the charge. And it sets up my plan for the following turn of Induce Lethargy, then charge with Onslaught Drones. So I consider going up the right side here and just taking it with Incarnate Sentinels and then turning them to kind of come sweep through the other side. But I'm just not confident that will hold up and that I can like win this side without assistance. So I decide to go up the far left flank, and it's the same basic principle, right? Like I'm gonna win the flank, and then I'm gonna turn and start trying to sweep things up. He hasn't deployed his Fireforged, and if he deploys both of them over there, I could get overwhelmed in the middle of the board, and I really don't want that. So I just get Highborne on and start running up the middle. Or I guess running up the zone. Taking the left flank pretty strongly here. So I think the mistake that he makes here, not immediately here, but like a couple seconds from now, or later on this turn, I guess, is his warriors. He places his warriors behind the Hold Ballista. And his plan is for those warriors, plus the Hold Ballista, and the terrain, and the casters to like beat up whatever I put over there. I put double Avatara there. They're very good at like holding a flank on their own. They're fast. They're tanky-ish. Like they have good defensive stats, but not very many wounds. So this is a mistake, I think. These should have been warriors, because then he'd have warriors to protect one of the Fireforged, and then he could have Fireforged to protect his whole Ballista. If the Fireforged can come on, be in the zone, if I March Charge the Ballista, he knows that my army is mostly Brutes, so he'd be able to shoot over the Brutes into the Ballista if I like March Charge them to negate their shooting, or if I Charge Clash them and kill them, he's going to be taking probably close range shots into me. So here, I have to move an extra inch because Tabletop Simulator things, and we just remember that I'm an inch further back. It's a little easier because my other Avatara come on next to them, and they're just like an inch shorter. And I'm easily within 14. I'm like 11 and a half away or something. I'm far enough away, I'm likely not going to try a charge, and close enough that I can't fill a March charge. So he goes with the Hellbringer Drake here. I don't know what he does with this Hellbringer Drake. So does this keep happening? Okay, minor mic thing. I think my microphone just chooses to turn itself off and doesn't realize that I'm like in a software. It thinks that it's just not being used. So we're moving up here. The Avatara come in. he moves up a Hellbringer. I don't think he was in range to shoot anything, so I just think he just doesn't. Oh yeah, sorry. He moves up and he shoots at the Strix. He only hits with 3, which is not horribly unlikely. And then he takes 4 shots from the character, which should be like 2 hits, but he only does 1. And then I believe I at least fail this save. Yeah, so I take a couple damage on these Strix. And then the Avatara go. And move on, which I had already done. And then he brings on his Hellbringer Drake. Or he brings on his Ironclad Drake, and all that spacing that he made with the Initiates got filled in by those Fireforged, so he comes in a little bit further. I think that was probably accidental as well. And I think the Drake likely is better off where his second Fireforged came in, right around here. Because then it follows up the Initiates and fights over the zone pretty effectively. And it's easier for it to get into protecting the Raegh. But it does work out pretty well where it's at. So it's hard to say. I'm making sure that these Vanguard clones are in the flank. I'm just over 7 inches away, so my plan is not fail a charge roll. Which, I mean, it's a good plan. I'm slightly over 5 inches from the zone, so I think he's like planning what he does with that. I should probably... Actually, I think this is fine. I just attack with my Strix. I get 2 whole hits. I might even do a wound. I don't remember. I do not. And then I get my Centaur Avatara in on turn 4. He scores the zone, however, which is a little rough. Like, you don't usually want Dwegh to be taking zones away from you this early, but those Initiates are a big block, and it's just hard to chew through them sometimes. So here, I stack Pheromancer first with Vanguard Clone Infiltrator second. And I kind of have 2 plans. If I lose priority, I expect his Initiates to charge, to like kill the Strix and then charge the VCI. That's what I'm expecting to happen, because I expect to lose priority always. And if that happens, I probably give them always inspired. And because they won't, well, I don't know. I probably give them always inspired. And then I that puts them on the bottom of the deck. And then I just like kind of throw my whole army into him. But if I win priority, I'm in range with everybody of his Hellbringer. So my plan is to win priority and actually double shoot with the VCI and High Clone Executor to try to do a big chunk of damage to his Warlord. Spoiler alert, that's going to happen in a couple of seconds. So he's going around, he's measuring a lot of stuff out, he's really planning his deck. He's a good player, and he's thinking things through here. I'm actually not 100% sure at this point I want to make that play, because another option is just go with my VCI first, take a round of shots at the Hellbringer, and then back up so that my Incarnate Sentinels can like double march forward. Or I'd be able to go with the Pheromancer and give them +1 march, and then I might be able to double march, or to march off the, yeah, double march and then clash with my draw event. But I don't do any of those things, so I just go for the double shots. Yeah, so here's where I'm measuring it when I'm actually making the deck, because I want to make sure it's like, okay, can I reform to a place where I get to shoot with all 4 of my sands? Because that makes the double activation Pheromantic drive effective. So I roll a 2 on priority. I'm feeling pretty good about it. I have fewer cards than him. I believe he rolls not a 2. Not really. I think we're like measuring things or discussing stuff. I actually don't really remember what's going on here. I had rolled that dice. Maybe I think I said like my bottom 2 or 3 cards were just randomly in the deck still. Okay, yeah. So then he rolls a 1, and then we re-roll. Oh no, he just goes first. Okay, so he goes with Hold Ballista and he shoots Avatara. All the Avatara stands are in the terrain, so this makes sense. He wanted to get those shots off before the Avatara go, because he doesn't obviously want me to just march charge him. But my Avatar are way at the bottom of my stack, so it's similar to winning priority. The fact that all my guys are touching terrain means I just get to not really care about these shots. Like, I might take a wound. He hits once. He should hit 2.5 times. Oh, he missed 1 shot. So he hits twice. I should take a wound here. I think I don't. But, oh, no, I do. Yeah, so I take a wound. I take the wound I'm supposed to. And then I draw my Pheromancer, and I double activate the VCI. I mean, it's a single activation, but they're allowed to take the same action twice. So they just go for volley, and they shoot a bunch of volleys into this Hellbringer. I feel pretty good about this, because I get 16 shots from the VCI, which should do about 8 hits, and I do 7 hits, so that's about right. And then, because they have rapid volley and there were 2 1s, for anyone who doesn't know all the mechanics of the game. And then the second shots are from the character. He hits 6 times. That's about right for him. He's effectively... So he also has rapid volley from Infiltrator variant. Rapid volley is +1 volley with extra steps. There are a few things that make you reroll 1s on shooting and things like that, and it's worse against those. So it is slightly worse than just a higher volley stat, but it works out mathematically when not affected by any of those effects to be the same. So the Hellbringer rolls really hot there. And he only ends up taking 3 total damage, but he does blow all of his tokens. I realize I only rolled 14 shots here, and I'm not really sure how I did that, so I just re-roll the 6s, because that works. And then it's like 4 hits, because I rolled very bad. And then, yeah, so then we, like, go through, and the character shoots, and just rolling a whole pile of dice here. And we... we hit with 5, but had 3 1s, so they turned into all those. And he, again, rolls, like, just really, really well, only taking 2. And then it takes a little bit more damage from the other shots, because we had some 1s. And then, so he takes a bunch here, so he takes 4 of these. So that's getting closer. Expected damage from all of that is about 12 shots from the character, and about 32, so about 16 hits from the regular guys, and he saves 3.5. So if our expected is like 12, he should be taking 5 plus about 7 or 8. So there's a pretty good chance he actually dies from it. The reroll 6s help against the deadly. But even if we just count up the total number of hits, because we're looking at 32 plus 8 or plus 16, and the 16 shots are effectively on 4s, so that's 11 and some change, and then the 32 should be effectively on 3s, so that's 16. So you should have about 27 hits, and you should take about half of those, and then reroll the 6s from those. So of those 27 saves, there should be 9 6s, so 4.5 more should save. So actually the 9 is a little above, but not very far above. Or actually, it's almost exactly on. If we don't account for deadly, it's pretty much right there. So these guys go. We're just trying. We really want to hold up these initiates. The only problem here is I'm kind of stuck. Like, I really... The correct play here was probably to go... Oh, I lethargied before all the shooting. Or after all the shooting, because the Pheromantic drive happens before the action. Otherwise, I would have probably just dumped everything into initiates. So we hit with 14 out of 16, and because of Linebreaker and Lethargy, he's saving on 2s, which is pretty great. Obviously, 14 out of 16 is like 4 above average, 3 and some change above average, so we're pretty happy about that. So we're going to the initiates, and we do a bunch of damage with the initiates, or with the onslaught drones. I actually want to lose a full stand here, because it lets my Vanguard clones get in fully on the flank, but I don't, so we're good. He takes 9, which kills 2 stands, which is helpful. There's a wound carried over on 1, and then, he's going to have to take some resolve from that. But he's on 5s, so I don't really expect a whole lot out of it. Oh, I guess he's actually... I should be on 5s, right? Oh, yeah. I think he doesn't... Yeah, he realized that he was on 5s, even though the marker only says 4. So he passes all of them. He has Indomitable as well, so we're not really expecting anything out of the resolve. I should probably have had my Vanguard clones go much, much later in this turn. And my Brute Drones, for that matter. And had Vanguard clones go, and then Brute Drones go. But I'm not actually sure what's being rolled right now. What did he draw? Tempered Sorcerer, so he's killing something. Okay, so the Strix die. No surprise there. I have the Vanguard clones go here, and it's wrong. We charge past my guy, and we kind of clip that backstand, and it's gross. Like, the Vanguard clones shouldn't have been here in the priority. That was an interesting, dice roller thing. Looking back, I don't know if I could have made this charge, and it really shouldn't. I shouldn't have even tried. They should have sat back. The damage that I get out of the Vanguard clones here is terrible, and I frankly just feel like this was a pretty bad choice, all things considered. Oh, I guess I was wrong. Yeah, I guess he just rolled really bad against it. Yeah, so that charge ended up being pretty good. I don't know. Like, they do just... The Vanguard clones just die for free. So, I should have probably just done... had them in a completely different spot. But it is what it is. We're here now. So Fireforged go, they shoot into Vanguard clones. He measures it a bit. He thinks about like some other things, but after some measuring of sands, we shoot some Vanguard clones. 5 hits, and which is pretty bad because they did take aim. Should have been 7, and then I made 2, which is about right. But that's pretty irrelevant because Ironclad Drake is going to clean them up for free anyway. Other Hellbringer, or the Hellbringer Drake itself goes, and I don't know what he does here, actually. Oh yeah, he just tries to do as much damage to VCI as he can. He's trying to break them. My High Clone was also in the wrong place in my stack. Like, it should have been probably right before the Vanguard clones near the bottom of the stack. Because our ideal scenario here is he kills the Onslaught drones and charges into the VCI, and then I charge with Vanguard clones and Brute drones. So, or even if he doesn't, or he like Inspire clashes and kills the Onslaught drones, and I just charge him full flush on the flank, so I get my full complement of attacks. So really, we're not very happy with where we put the Vanguard clones in this stack. They should have been probably the last card or second to last card. So he takes some time on this decision. Having the shot sucks. So he's not super excited about shooting into VCI, but at the same time, there aren't a lot of other good targets. He doesn't. It's unlikely that he can completely clears the Onslaught drones with shooting, but that's your only other play here. And if he does that, then Initiates can charge Clash the VCI and kill them. Or theoretically, if they yeah. So he has to go in the correct order, and I don't know what his stack is. So if he moves the Hellbringer up and he shoots the Onslaught drones, and then the Ironclad charges in and kills the Vanguard clones, and then the other Hellbringer, he might need both Hellbringers to shoot Onslaught drones. But if he goes Hellbringer, shoots the Onslaught drones off, has the Ironclad Drake kill the Vanguard clones off, then he can charge Clash the VCI, and then he probably dies to Incarnate Sentinels, but there's sort of nothing stopping that, and then they're sitting there like staring down an Ironclad, double Hellbringer, and Fireforged. He goes for the shooting. He goes for the plan of shoot the heck out of VCI, which is a reasonable plan to go for. If he doesn't do that, I probably activate my Pheromantic Override to shoot a third time with them, which I think I do anyway, but he takes an extra stand worth of shooting if he does that, if he doesn't shoot in with the Hellbringer. I think I would go for shooting the Onslaughts off, and then using the Ironclad to kill the Vanguard clones, and then using that to push forward on the board. Especially because, he can just drop a lot of damage into Incarnate Sentinels that are engaged with Initiates. And right now, my VCI would be in the way if he didn't kill them somehow. He'd probably kill them. But it's really hard to like make that judgment call here. So yeah, he's just shooting a bunch of shots with Hellbringer. I believe this is just all into the Vanguard clones. And he rolls terribly. Yeah, and I'm saving on my evasion too. And I still save 2 of them. I take basically nothing from that, which is ridiculous, of course. But it's largely irrelevant. This is mostly like he had to kind of make the play he did because his stack wasn't oriented in a way where he would be able to kill the Vanguard clones and then march the second Hellbringer up and shoot the onslaughts and then kill all of them off of the point. And he had already gone with the sorcerers and already done his magic, so he didn't really have that going. We set up Avatara here just so we could barely see those hold ballista. He marches Fireforged forward and tries to take some shots. It's 7 shots. He's expecting 2 and change hits. It's very unlikely to kill this stand here. I believe I take a wound. Like that was a pretty bad roll, but it was actually only like a point, a small percentage off average, like 0.33 off average. Yeah, so I go here and I think about this a bit, but I decide that, I've got shots on that Hellbringer Drake still, and I don't know if I'm going to get another activation with these guys, and I don't know what I'm going to do with Pheromantic Override otherwise. So I definitely decide to override, and I'm thinking about making this charge, and I'm thinking it's like, okay, maybe I move. And I can move backwards, but I'm probably not getting out of range of things, not with like Seat Pyroclast. So I can move forwards, and that doesn't really do anything for me. I could maybe get close enough to charge Fireforged and hold them and keep them off shooting for a turn. It's not that exciting. Or I can just shoot this Hellbringer and maybe kill it. Like, it's probably not going to die, but maybe kill it. Hindsight being what it is, I'm still not sure. I think I wish I had moved forward with them and then march charged. Just like march straight forward and then march charged the initiates with the Incarnate Sentinels. But I don't know, maybe I measured that and I wasn't able to get out of the way. So I just went with shots and I rolled not well. So it definitely didn't pay off. I mean, my expectation here is, again, like, it's 11-ish hits, and he should take about 5 from them. So, or he should, yeah, because he saved about 3.5. So he should take 4 to 5 of them, which could kill him. So my expectation here is that, like, with triple shots into him this turn, I can probably kill a Hellbringer Drake. But I don't, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. So he brings on Hold Warriors here, and this is kind of where I'm like, the Fireforged on the left side, I probably would have had 1 Fireforged and 1 Hold Warrior. If there were Fireforged here right now, they would, like, already there, it would be a lot less safe for my Avatara. And I think these Hold Warriors would actually be in a better place. Oh, maybe I did measure this and I was able to, like, march past my own guys, and that was why I did it. Yeah, I had a little bit of movement here. I'm able to, like, kind of run past them. You can probably see how, like, the initiates are a little chunky. I I don't know what it is about my tiles. Sometimes they decide to go wide, and then they overhang their stands. But we should be they overhang them by about 2/3 of an inch, so I don't actually walk into initiates here. So I just run up. A big part of this is it gets me in the zone, and I care about that. So I have 4 scoring stands in the zone. So that Steelforge card is the Hellbringer, and it's just going to go clean up these Vanguards. There's a lot of measuring that happens here to make sure that he gets his thing, and he's trying to see if he can reliably charge the Brute Drones in the back or charge the Onslaughts and clear up that way. So he definitely sees that this Onslaught play is the go-to. But based on where they were and where everything else ends up, like he's in the front, so he's not able to charge them without getting he's not able to turn in a way where he hits this corner first without hitting these Vanguard clones. So he just kind of gets stuck. And so we mess around for a bit, and we'll save everybody some time. Just kind of click through that. And he ends up back where he started, and then we do some other stuff, and eventually he ends up just going into the Vanguard clones and killing them. We actually end up moving this over slightly because we wanted to make sure he was within 8 of the Raegh for the Flurry aura from the Ironclad Drake, which we thought it was at the time. This is one of those just the stands looking weird made it hard to measure. So he charges in, and he's going to obliterate Vanguard clones in the flank. So they die, and then the Strix are dead. So I draw my Centaur, and I bring them on. And this is a little bit of a mistake here. I put them slightly behind the Brute Drones, and I shouldn't have done that. I needed to set this up where they were in a position. I wanted them to be able to charge, but I really should have just wheeled first. Yeah, so I think that actually would have just been fine, because as part of a charge move, you're allowed to go within an inch of the garrison. But I don't know. It was a little funky. You kind of have to agree on stuff on TTS, and I don't know. We didn't actually discuss that one, and probably should have. So initiates go, and they're going to murder these Onslaught drones. I think the Raegh does it by himself. Yeah, so Raegh hits with 7, and I obviously don't survive any of those because he's cleave 3. So they die. I don't remember what happens here. I think he charges Brute Drones. Yeah, I believe he charges Brute Drones. But thinking about that later, I don't actually think he could charge the Brute Drones, because I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that front initiate stand might clip the Incarnate Sentinels before turning enough, but it's hard to tell. So we just kind of go with it, and are like, all right, yeah, you charge Brute Drones. Then the Brute Drones go. They're my last card. The character goes, does a couple hits. It has 4 attacks and hit with 2. I Inspire Clash. I'm in the water, so Inspire Clash brings me on 2s. But this is really big because he gets he breaks from this, and then I have 15 attacks from the brutes themselves. I don't know what's going on, but whatever. Um, microphone fun times. So the brutes go in. They do a pretty decent chunk of damage to the initiates. Like, they don't kill them, but they hurt them pretty good. Most importantly, they break them, and then he starts making resolves on, I believe, 3s. And the important thing is he's broken, and he's only about 7 wounds from dead. So we go here, and there's the Raegh. The Raegh duels, and I just decline. I'm like, yeah, sure, I'm broken. You got me. I'm not fighting a hold right now. Even though he's in the water, and he's only Clash 3, he's got Flurry. I just don't... well, he might not have Flurry. Probably doesn't have Flurry. So I just go with... I'm not going to fight him. I don't want to fight a hold Raegh. That's not what my life's about. He could have removed Broken here, which would have kind of worked out for me. I end up stacking... I'm sure he stacks Initiates first, and I stack Pheromancer into... I stack Pheromancer Brute Drones, I believe. Or I stack Pheromancer VCI. So my plan here is to double shoot with the VCI, hopefully kill the Initiates by doing those 7 remaining wounds to shatter him. And then shoot down the Hellbringer with the second shot, and then hopefully I don't die to Decay, but if I do, I do. So we'll see how that goes. Sorry, you get to see OBS for a second, because I'm not... my microphone's it's beeping in my ear like it's not working, and I don't understand why. So it's recording, though, so I don't know. Call it good. So we go here, we build stack, we spend a little time on this. Spend a lot of time on this. This is a pretty important turn, so we're measuring everything out, we're thinking about everything. I'm just gonna kind of go through this a lot. So sort of figuring out like where everything can go. I think he's setting up to go Ironclad first so that he can charge and try to kill the brute drones, which I'm fine with because I just still shatter the initiates with these shots. And then centaurs charge and probably kill the Ironclad, but he also has a decent chance of failing that charge, which is pretty good for me. So there's a lot of hemming and hawing here. His other option is go first with Raegh and see what happens. But I think I have 1 less card than him here, and I'm just really hopeful that I can win initiative. So we spent a lot of time on this, and I do win initiative. So we'll go back a little bit here. So, waiting for something to happen. But yeah, so I roll a 1, and that means I win initiative because I had fewer cards. And I very excitedly flip over my Pheromancer into my VCI, and twice... So the VCI over 2 turns are making 5 shots, and it's just, like, really relevant. So these guys just reform in a way where they can see, and then they're both still in range of the Hellbringer, as they just both need to be able to see the initiates. And then the character shoots first, asks questions later, hits with 9 hits. He's defensive 3. And he fails 4, 5, 6. So he's got 1 wound left. And then we shoot with the regular stand. Or yeah, so we were in close effective range, so we got an extra shot in there and that killed him. The regular stand would have got him too, like whatever. So then we do the second round of shooting into the Hellbringer, and I think the High Clone just like deals with everything himself this turn. So that's 7 hits into the Hellbringer Drake, and these have deadly, but with rerolling 6s, you know, it's not the most exciting time for deadly. So he's just lining up to make some saves here. I'm not really sure what's going on. Oh, he was deciding if he was going to use tokens on it. And then he rolls super, super well. And actually survives, and I'm like, oh no, that Drake's going to live through this. He's taken so much more damage that he should be so very dead. And then he takes 6 hits here. And thankfully that like 3 go through. And he would be re-rolling the 6s, but he was dead from the 1, so it didn't matter. And then I have to make my 6 decay rolls, and I fail the 2 that it takes for me to die. So I explode. But we're very happy about that. We just picked up. We finished off 2 very important targets. That VCI unit killed that sorcerer by itself, and did like 2 stands worth of initiates, but it was able to go twice early and get some shatters off. It's just a very dangerous turret. So he like 2 then 1s a 4-inch charge here. So this is his 25% chance to fail instead of his 75% chance to succeed. The Pheromancer gave +1 march to the Centaur. The Brute Drones just remove broken, and I think they just move up a little or move over. I think they move over so that if the Centaur fail the charge, because the Centaur need a 4, and it's rerollable because they have a banner. So it's set up so that if they fail the charge after the Brute Drones rally, I'll be able to flank charge the Ironclad. Or just charge the Ironclad. I want to get out of this water, I think. It's actually probably wrong. I probably should just move to the side so that the Ironclad would be in the water, because it gives the Brute Drones a reasonable chance of surviving. And, but I moved to be 3 inches ahead of the Centaur so that I can't break myself, because a 4 makes the charge and a 3 passes it. Oh, I'm a savage cheater, actually, because I took an additional action there, because I removed broken and then I marched twice. So that was good. I was good savage cheating. It does not matter, because the game ends on this turn. The Centaur get into the Drake. They do a bunch of, like, the Centaur do in fact make their charge. The Incarnates kill the Fireforged, and oh yeah, so he's casting Seep, making sure it gets off so that he at least doesn't eat those impact hits. So I charge here. I'm about 8 inches. I'm within 8 inches, so I just charge in. We actually look at this later, and it's like, oh, the Hellbringer's in range, so I'm like, okay, I'll charge the other way so that I'm not getting shot by Hellbringer. Not that it's very relevant in this case. I just don't want Hellbringer shots. This is one of the nice things about 4 wide regiments, is you do like get to make this choice about which side you're going to be on a lot of the time. And it's not huge, but it adds up. Like, you just don't want to get shot if you don't have to. So these are the impact hits. And then he dies from the Clash. I mean, it's a lot of Cleave 2 and some Cleave 1. And then I'm going to get shot in the face by Fireforged. And the next turn I'm going to shoot the Fireforged, or charge the Fireforged, and do all that sort of normal stuff. But there's no real reason to like play it out here. So writing's on the wall at this point. The Initiate's block is gone. The Warlord Hellbringer's gone. This midline Hellbringer's kind of out of position. And those Fireforged can't really do anything. So I'm going to be able to take over these zones pretty easily. So when I moved these Avatara up, I made sure they were in line with the back of the other Avatara, so I could go full 90 and go straight in to get maximum stands on the hold Ballista. It is sort of a weird charging rule, but like not being able to charge through your own guys can kind of create some awkward situations. But it's, at least with Avatara, they have support, so if I had to swing the other way, I would only lose a couple of attacks. And in this case, that's actually very likely better, because I would be able to use it to get into the zone, because I'd be like 1, 2, 3 stands, and I think my corner would be here. But the warriors are still there. But I do that, and then the warriors charge me, and then I charge the warriors, and if I'm able to kill them, I would be able to score the zone. And it just makes the battlefield like more on his side of the table, which we want, because we want to claim this zone. That's how victory points get scored. You might notice the score is like really low. This one has victory points for killing regiments. I very rarely tally those up as turns go. We actually talked about it on an earlier turn, and I said, let's just wait until the end of the game and then count the cards that are dead. That way we don't double count them or forget them or whatever. That's usually how I play it. I just count it up when we go to time or when the game is over. But some people like keeping track of it as you go. It just isn't usually worthwhile. So these guys just charge in here, and they square up, and obviously all the stands go through the created hindering terrain. And Magma's just a very good school. Like, creating hindering where you want it is very useful. So I don't get my impact hits. I only am Clash 3, but I still hit with almost all of these due to the fact that I have Flurry. Yeah, it was a very normal roll, and then I just do very well on the Flurry roll. So 12 hits. It's literally exactly average, 75%. Yeah, ironically, I think the cheating move that I did with the Brute Drones actually hurts me going into the next turn, because the correct thing for me to do on the following turn is activate a Pheromancer to double activate the Centaur Avatara, and have them Pheromantic drive to either to kill this guy off, or if they kill him on the first one, give +1, or kill him and then charge the Hellbringer. Let's see. So some dice are happening. He's got some. I think he's just making saves, resolves. Oh, he's probably shooting. He's rolling something on 2s. Oh, I'm rolling. Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, he's shooting me. He's shooting me with a Hellbringer. So Centaurs end up taking 2 from that, which actually does kill the stand, which is a little sad. I think the odds on that are pretty similar. It's 14 shots, a 7. I saved those on 2, so I should take about 4. Yeah, I should take about 5. So that's about... they should lose a stand from the Hellbringer, like, full-on shooting them. And now, like, I'm in a situation where I obviously, like, set it up so that I heal the Centaurs after they... I probably just put Centaurs first, and I hope to kill it off and then charge. So these guys charge in. I do the move wrong because wheeling in this thing's annoying. But we had it set up so that we could make sure we could do this directly in charge. And I failed 2 of the dangerous terrain tests. We do some impact hits, and then the Clash cleans up the Ballistae here. We have our 13 swings on 4s into them from the Avatara. Really, we're seeing one of the things that's really good about Avatara, which is simply how fast they are. And soon we're going to see the other thing that's good about them, which is that they can just really spike dice rolls. Where the defense 4 sometimes allows you to just not take any damage, which is really, really, really cool. Probably should have played this game at double pace. I forgot to do that. So sorry, this video is going to be a little bit longer than intended. But those guys die, and then the Hold Warriors charge in, and they have like, yeah, so they're charging in there. We'll remember it for the last like 2 seconds of the video. Man, maybe I should re-record this. Oh well. So we have 7 hits, and I just make all of them with the Avatara, so it's like, oh, cool. And then the other ones charge in, and I think I like hit with 5 of these. Yeah, hit with 5 out of 6 of them. He fails a bunch, and then like just dies to the Clash action. So we have 11 swings, 9 from engaged models, and then 1 supporting stand, and I hit with 7 out of the, like 8 out of the 11. And he saves 3, so that's another 5, and then he breaks, and I think he just dies, and then we just call the game here. The writing's on the wall, obviously. We roll off priority. He's going to go first. But even if he kills the Centaur, and then, yeah, we'll just... so even if he kills the Centaur, he's talking about, like, getting those guys on a previous turn. So he kills the Centaur here. I kill the Fireforged. Hellbringer shoots me. That's fine. The Brute Drones kill the Drake, because he's going to have to Inspire Clash. And I'm going to go Centaur into, like, Pheromancer to heal Incarnate Sentinels and activate, and then put Lethargy on the Drake. So if the Centaurs don't kill the Drake, then the Brute Drones do. And so then the Drake's dead. And then the Incarnate Sentinels go in, kill the Fireforged. And then the Hellbringer shoots for a turn, but it's never going to kill all the Brute Drones and all the Incarnate Sentinels. And even if it did, it's not going to kill all the Avatara. So he just concedes here, and we clean it up from here. So it was a good game. It's not as lopsided as it looks. I think that Hellbringer is kind of misplaced, and if it had been over here so that I couldn't do as free of shooting, and it was able to like more heavily pressure, and also he would have had more space to get in and just shoot down those Strix and try to free himself up sooner. I think that's really important. It's just, you really need to be able to like free up your big block, and that's the whole value of Hellbringers. And the Fireforged, they're great, but they really needed to be, at least one of them needed to be over here in order to win this flank. His plan was to cast a bunch of spells on these Avatara to soften them up so that the Warriors and Ballista could win the flank, but I don't think that gets there. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. The problem is, as soon as the Ballista dies, he's got whatever I have over here, whatever Avatar I have going into Warriors, versus warriors. And that's just really risky. And he's giving up the spells over here because all I have to do is kill the Ballista, and I was obviously set up to do it. So I would have brought Fireforged on here. One, they came on a turn sooner, and then that warrior unit could go shore up either side. But that's probably the only like really big mistake that I saw. I would have liked the Hellbringers to be next to each other over here. But that's not the end of the world. It's just helpful. They can cover each other if something charges them, things like that. And more threats, right? Like he would have been able, if he had done that, he would have been able to put both Hellbringers back into my VCI and likely killed them, preventing 3 rounds of shooting from them, instead of having to shoot at like Vanguard clones or something that, you know, totally didn't matter because this Ironclad Drake was going to kill them. So those are really the big like changes and mistakes that I saw. But overall, we've decided that I have a Bibble score, which for the chess watchers of you is kind of like Stockfish, where we talk about accuracy of play. I think overall I played this game pretty well. I would probably rate myself, as far as positioning, I'd probably give myself like 85, 86% accuracy. Things were like off by a couple of inches, but nothing was like majorly bad. And I think I chose the correct sides with all of my regiments. My stack, I made quite a few mistakes with the stack. Like my first card was always really good, but some of my middle stack choices and late stack choices weren't. I delayed the wrong units sometimes, but I made some really good ones. So I don't know. I'd probably give myself somewhere in like an 85-ish range accuracy on that as well. Bryan's stack seemed to be like very well designed. A couple of times he screwed up and put Sorcerer before Hellbringer Drakes, specifically on turn 3. I think he made that mistake, and it cost him it cost him a blast, which, I mean, it's relevant. So I think that probably hurt. And I think those Fireforged and I think one of the Fireforged and one of the Hellbringers was out of position. And then, well, yeah, I think those are probably only 2 like major positional errors. So I would overall say I'd probably put him at around an 80 on that, and probably better than me on stack this game, actually. I think it's harder because I like don't remember all of the stack choices perfectly, but I didn't notice any, right? Like that's, I guess, my big point is we go through his stack and all of his choices in his turn like made sense to me. So I think he probably stacked somewhere in the 90 percentile. I'd say like 90% of his stack choices were good. Only a couple Sorcerer ones, and it's a big hit when it's a Sorcerer because it was his Warlord Sorcerer on 3, and that really did cost him. But again, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. The goal is to have one of these videos up every Monday, and hopefully I don't savage cheat in the next one. Have a good night or day.